to the Genre Hustle, your virtual sci-fi fantasy writers group. I'm Anton.
I'm AP.
I'm Chris.
I'm Lucy.
I'm Carter.
And today we're talking about writing habits, and we have Dana Hammer again here with us, our special guest star.
Hello.
So Dana, we're having you back on for this episode about writing habits because you are the superstar. You have published Tom the Ghost, and by your own admission have written 8 other books that you said were not good, but we're not going to hold that against you. But we want to talk specifically about writing habits, and as somebody who is so productive in our group, we figured you were a good candidate. So give us a couple habits that you have, things that you do.
Sure. So first of all, every single night, and this is super geeky and probably not for everyone, I actually sit down and write a schedule for the next day. Like, this is when I'm going to the gym, this is when I'm going to make lunch, and this is when I'm going to do my writing. And so I kind of work it around like my kid's schedule. I try and make it for when my husband is not working so he can watch my kid. And so then I'll like schedule a little block, and that's when I'm doing. And I do that every day.
So you're writing. So you make a point of writing every day.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. It doesn't work if you skip days or if you get out of the habit, because then you get lazy. Or at least in my case, I get lazy if I don't do it every day. Another thing is I have like dedicated library days where I just have my husband watch our daughter, and I just go to the library for a few hours and write quietly with no interruptions, and that's been really helpful for me because I can get 5,000 words in one of those chunks if I don't have any interruptions, and so that's been really helpful.
And you like the library more than like a coffee shop or a bar?
Yeah, you don't have to spend money at the library.
Good point.
And also, I feel like there's kind of that stereotype of I'm working on my screenplay in Starbucks. Like, no one wants to be that girl.
In Los Angeles?
Yeah,
what?
Right.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
I mean, it's fine. Nothing against you if that's your process. It's just, I like the library. It's quiet. It's calm. I like to make playlists for my characters. So like right now I'm writing a book about zombies. And so like my playlist for my main character, Igor, it's a lot of like Napalm Death and Minor Threat and The Addicts and 9 Inch Nails and Dead Kennedys.
I was going to say the Cranberries. Oh,
yeah, naturally. I mean, we have the dreams.
Well, so let's talk about routines. So it sounds like Dana has a good routine. I definitely think that, showing up every day is really, really important. I agree. If you don't if you do it haphazardly or once in a while, you get out of the habit. You not necessarily get lazy, but it's like a muscle. It's like going to the gym.
Yeah, it's exactly what I was going to say.
If you don't do it on a regular basis and on a set time you get flabby and you get lazy, So I write every day. I do a morning session with my coffee, 30 minutes, and I just blast out as much as I can in 30 minutes, right at the start of the day. And then I go with my laptop to the coffee shop.
There you go.
Sorry, I wasn't.
No, it's okay. It's okay.
Trying to talk shit about it.
Because I like to have like ambient noise around me. So I do that in the afternoon. Maybe a trip to the bar for a third session if things are going well.
Yeah. Well, see, I'm actually the opposite. If I've got a lot of stuff going on around me, I can't focus for writing. In fact, I have an entire writing playlist that I put on anytime I'm writing. So I put headphones on, and it's a lot of instrumental stuff, a lot of like soft music. I've got some synthwave in there, some vaporwave, and that really gets me in the mood. It like tells my brain, hey, you're writing. Get in there.
Do you find that lyrics distract you? Does it have to
Absolutely.
be like nonverbal music? Yeah.
There's some songs that are less distracting, but most of the time lyrics are definitely distracting for me.
In any language.
Yeah.
Yes.
I usually can't even do like rhythmic stuff. Like it's got to be ambient or just like, like modular synthesis stuff and just like
music.
Yeah, beeps and bloops are really good for me.
Have you heard this thing on YouTube where they just have loops of sound effects for like 12 hours?
I don't think that would help.
I fall asleep to those.
Yeah, they'll take like the Death Star ambient for 12 hours.
Or the Star Trek bridge.
Enterprise, the bridge ambient noise for 12 hours.
That sounds kind of nice. I'm kind of with Chris though. I like a coffee shop. I like there to be some like murmurs around me, I guess. It's just tough to find ones that don't play distracting music.
Yeah.
True.
So another thing that like habit-wise I think is good to talk about is goal setting. Like it seems like it's easy for me to set aside a block of time with which to write, but I don't always do words, you know? So I find that it's more helpful to tell myself, like, NaNoWriMo style, you have to write 1,000 words today, or whatever, or you have to get to this point in your story by this day, something like that.
So Dana, you said something before we were on mic about writing garbage, and I learned that in writing classes. I had a teacher who called it the spaghetti draft, which is, to Carter's point, just get stuff down. Just write anything. Don't edit it. Don't think about it. Is that when you sit down to write, do you know where you're at in the book? Meaning, if you go to the library on a given day, are you going to just say, okay, today I'm just going to get it all out on the page? Or do you know, like, you're editing today, or do you?
Oh yeah, no, I know what I'm going to work on, but I don't edit as I go. I always save edits until I'm completely done.
Yeah.
And I feel like whenever I start to worry about like whether or not what I'm producing is good, I like to think about Ed Wood, because he's kind of my hero, because he didn't have a lot of skills or talent or money, but you know what? He did it anyway. And now, you know, we all remember him fondly. He was that crazy Ed Wood guy. And I feel like you need to be okay with the fact that some of what you do is going to be garbage. No one can write genius stuff every single time they sit down to write. Right. And if you're doing it every day, you're going to have some off days.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people are afraid of being laughed at or mocked. Like, I feel like many writers I've met write things, but they don't send it out to anybody. They don't give it to anybody. They don't show it to anybody because they're afraid people will, you know, like, oh, I can't believe they think that's good.
Give them a shitty reaction or something.
Right. And it's like, you know what? Who cares? At least you're doing something, you know?
Maybe it is bad. I think you need to come to terms with the fact, at least I did when I was first starting out, that some of the stuff, in fact, the majority of the stuff that I was writing was bad. And I just needed to go with that, because if you feel embarrassed about it, you're never going to open yourself up to really receiving the critique.
Exactly.
And that humbling experience that is, oh, I don't know what I'm talking about. It's not a natural thing, writing. It's something you have to learn to do. And there are rules, there is structure, there is such a thing as learning, character development. It's not a natural, you know,
Right.
No one sits down and is just able to do it. I have to learn, and in order to learn, I need to give my stuff to people.
I think there's this mythology around writing really any artistic pursuit that, you know, it's just this genius sitting down and making genius happen naturally. But it's like any other job, you know, it's work. A lot of it is just craft and work and practice.
To learn. Yeah.
And it's not going to be good at first. No one writes a good first draft.
And part of the learning is, I mean, that's why we're all here. We're all in a writing group to learn, and that's how we're improving, because we're submitting every week, every other week, to get better.
Yeah, I write in strange little circles, actually. I find that if I just write creatively and I'm creating new chapters every day, that part of my brain gets a bit exhausted. So I do a bit of both. I kind of push the latest chapter forward, write about half a chapter a day, and then go back and tinker with stuff at the beginning that I know is not, you know, I know that's pretty solid. So I'm kind of using two parts of the brain, and then I'll use the afternoons for research or learning about query writing or reading successful query letters, that sort of thing.
That reminds me of something that we talk about in critique group a lot, which is when people will turn something in, and in some cases they've turned in something a couple times, and I've heard people in the group say, hey, maybe you should put this down and go and work on something else, take a break, and then come back to it. And I find that's been very helpful. Like, with The Secret in the Ice, I just got stymied. I got to the end, and I'm like, oh, now what? And I'm like, okay, I'm going to do this short story now. And then I just start writing the short story, and then it becomes easier to come back after you've taken a break.
Yeah, it's easy to psych yourself out. And I also think that, like, you get a little creatively fatigued, you know? Like, you get to a point, at least I do, where I get to a point where it's like, I've got all the ideas together, and I think I know what all the character arcs are and all the plot points are. And then by the time you're actually writing, you know, it's kind of like, you can psych yourself out and like think that what you had planned before isn't worthy now, when in reality you just have been thinking about it too much. That's like another habit thing I wanted to bring up is outlining. I'm really curious how much outlining you do, Dana, because like I hear different writers have wildly different ideas about whether you should outline or not, or whether it helps.
For me, I've tried outlining in the past just because I like being organized, and I actually like the process of making an outline. But once I sit down and write it, all the joy is gone. If I know exactly what's happening next, I don't care about it. I already know what's happening. I don't want to write it now. So I've completely stopped doing that. I will generally make like a list of ideas of things I would like to see in the book. Like, oh, it'd be fun if this character met this character. And so I'll just like make a note of that and come back to it when I feel like it would fit in the book.
But you don't do a beat by beat or
No.
a chapter break or an act break.
So I've had a similar thing where I never used to outline, because when I tried to outline, it would suck the joy out of it for me and it would get stale. So what I do now is, but I also found that I spent maybe 2 extra years of my life trying to finish a book because I didn't outline for me. So like I have trouble keeping a bigger piece together. So what I do now is, I do a lot of discovery writing, but I will do an outline. In this current book that I'm just basically finishing the second draft of, I'm on my 3rd outline. So I keep going back and fixing the outline, and I found that having it beat out enables me, when I get lost or confused about what I should be doing, I can go back into the latest outline and go, oh, that needs to happen. It's like, and it keeps me on track. So for me, it's been mind-blowing as far as like how productive I am comparatively to, like, I'm literally shaving years off the process of writing this book.
What's interesting on that is I like what you said though. You wrote the book first. You wrote a draft first.
Yeah, I do. And I want to agree with what you said earlier, Dana. Like I have found, for me now, especially, like, I got to finish it first and then go back and edit. So I don't do the little moments of edit.
Strange little writing circles.
Yeah, I don't do your writing circles. I find it's hard. Like I lose the thread that way.
I'm in awe of people that don't outline. That always blows my mind. I've tried it. I'm flapping around in the dark by the last act.
Especially in a novel where there's so
in a
much.
novel, I mean, it amazes me. I come to the climax and I'm like, I have absolutely nothing to defeat the bad guy with. Nothing I've planted, because I plan nothing. And so I'm one of these people that really needs to, in chapter 29, they find this, and that will then go on and help them.
Yeah, I'm trying
win the
it.
day.
I'm trying it your way now, Lucy. I had a bad experience doing the kind of discovery writing thing last year, where I wrote like an 80,000 word book that was a whole book from start to finish, and it's garbage. And
That's why I have a lot of garbage books, I think.
yeah. So I mean, and it gets to a point where, like you said, Chris, it would take me a year to go back and rip that thing up and re-outline it into something coherent and good, even though there's a lot of good like prose in it. The story isn't really there. So now I'm trying to write a book where I outline every plot point in every chapter the whole way, and then kind of paint by numbers. And I'm hoping that that'll actually give me more, it'll be more challenging, but give me more opportunities to do good prose, because I don't have to make up the plot as I go.
As you go along. And I like to think that in the future, I won't have to do it so extensively, and I'll just know, hey, I need to have this here in order to get somewhere.
Yeah.
I'm just not there yet. But I think something that we can probably all agree on that is super important is finding a writing group.
Sure.
Even if you have to start one yourself, because there's not one in your area, or it's something you do online, you reach out for people, having that community, getting feedback on your work, and really just making yourself feel not like you're sitting by yourself doing this thing that is, challenging, that there's other people in the same boat with you, has been one of the most important things for me in making any progress at all.
I totally agree. The writing, when I joined this writing group, it changed everything, because suddenly you have a group that is supportive. You have a group that you're accountable to, which I think was, for me, as motivation. Motivation is my biggest problem. That's been the biggest one, is you have to have read everyone else's stuff and given notes, and you have to turn something in. You literally have to write something and give it to people to read.
Yeah, it definitely helps with motivation, and that to me is the big thing. And you also you really learn how other writers think about both the genres that you're writing, and it kind of keeps you on the cutting edge a little bit, so that you're not just doing the same thing that has been done before and making the same mistakes over and over again.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're not writing into a vacuum.
Yeah.
Totally. And you also don't keep, like, for me, the big thing about joining this writers group was learning about story structure and about, like, the actual technical construction of a story, be it in any genre, how it's told, or any form. And, like, you know, it's like mind blowing that I could have kept writing without any real knowledge of how plot works.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, the group is great for, like, not only that, but recommendations. People will recently like, oh, have you read such and such? And you go, no, I've never even heard of that. And you read it, you're like, oh my God, this changed my life. Like,
Right.
Well, and it's such a group of really intelligent, talented writers, and there's so much knowledge accumulated. Like, I've learned a lot just from reading other people's writing and listening to what they have to say about mine. I feel like when you get a group of such talented people together, it can't help but improve you.
Oh, yeah.
That's why I drive all the way up from Anaheim.
no, it's true.
So I just want to say a couple words about, and discuss. We've talked about, writing every day and, putting in the time and sticking to a schedule. But I just wanted to say something about, like, making that time a priority. So, like, one of the things that I found has really helped me be more productive the last couple of years is I've basically made a decision where, writing is not paying my bills. It's not putting food on the table, but I've just decided that regardless of what's going on with work or any, socializing stuff or family or whatever, the writing time that I block out for myself every day is the first thing that I block out. I make sure that that's there. And I found that by doing that, even though it's not giving me immediate benefits as far as, like, making money off writing or doing any of that stuff, it is having massive benefits for me as far as making progress in my works and in the stuff that I'm working on.
It's like you said, it's like going to the gym. If you go to the gym every day, you're going to get better at going to the gym, and you're going to feel better and you're going to be fit. And yeah, it's like it's the same thing.
Totally.
And another important thing is enforcing your boundaries with other people. I feel like a lot of people, if you say, oh, I can't do that right now because I'm going to the gym. I can't do that right now because I have to go to work. People will respect that. That's fine. But if you say, I can't do that right now because I have to write, a lot of people will kind of brush that aside. You can do that anywhere.
It doesn't
that
register,
anytime.
yeah.
And so I feel like it's one of my main goals right now is to really stand up for that for myself and say, no, really, this is a priority, and I can't do that right now because that's my writing time. That's been a challenge for me personally, especially with my family. And, I have friends, I have a life. And so
I think also that's another way that writing groups really help you.
Yeah.
Like, everybody else is in the same boat, and you're like, oh, we all got to support each other and take it seriously in
Right.
that way,
even if it's not making money, it is serious
Yeah.
work, and you need to give it the attention it deserves.
Yeah, and also I have to go to a writing meetup sounds a lot better than I have to sit in my bed on my laptop and
It does.
think about airships and dragons and shit.
I have
It's
thinking
scheduled,
to do.
therefore it must happen.
Well, if other people are relying on you to be there, then I think people tend to get that a little more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, before we get to wrapping up, we have a good news section.
Oh,
we'd
yeah.
like to talk about.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
Good news.
That's right. Welcome to the
Hopefully
winner's
this is going to be
circle.
our new segment. So I actually got a book that I have been querying and sending around. I 9 months ago, I got a partial request from an agent. Didn't hear anything back after I sent the first 30 pages. Forgot all about it, essentially. And just last week, I got an email from him saying, I just got to it. I'm really intrigued. Send me the full
Yeah.
So, which is awesome. I'm really, really excited about it. But it also, like, these things take a long time.
But it's completely
sometimes.
legitimizing you, right? I mean, that's got to be such
It feels really.
It's
It
got
feels
to be
really
such
good.
a relief to know that your stuff
Yeah.
was appreciated.
Yeah, but the important thing is that, like, it can take a long time, and you just got to be patient. And who knows what will happen with this, but it's a nice little boost.
Yeah.
For sure. To have like an
yeah.
industry professional say it's good.
Yeah, it felt good.
You know, you're not just flailing.
Well, I'm still kind of flailing, but we all do that.
And this is the novel you've been talking about on the podcast.
Yeah, this is a novel that I worked on for
What's
like
the title
5
now?
Actually, the title is vacillating between The Runner and The Android and the Killer. So we'll see. I don't know what the title is going to be.
It's a good book. It's just a matter of time until it gets.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Picked
It's
up.
really good.
So that's our good news section for the
All
day.
right.
All right.
Well, this has been the Genre Hustle. We'll see you all next time. Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.